and welcome to the 1%ers Performance Podcast, coming to you from Combermary and Gadigal country in Australia. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we acknowledge the First Nations people of these lands. This is the podcast exploring how small changes make a big impact. I'm Mario Buchs, and together with my co-host Tim Buxton, we'll discover the unseen edges of peak performance to help athletes, teams and leaders unlock their exponential growth. And now, it's time to dive in and find the 1% that changes everything.
Mario, can you believe it? Next week we fly out to
1 week.
Iraq. Wow.
Yeah.
So
how excited are we, Tim?
Yeah, man. Look, all the feels right now. Little overwhelmed with all the logistics, but mostly, just that nervous anticipation, I guess, of being able to take some friends on this adventure and do something great together. So, yeah, really super grateful, to be honest, at this point for getting to this point. All the people that are jumping on board with the campaign Move to Belong and our particular Iraq100 Odyssey. So, yeah, feeling great. How about you, Mario? What's folks.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. We've not had a podcast for a while. We've got one coming out in a few days with with a colleague of ours. But yeah, we just had to put our head down, I think. All of us, the crew and the runners, put the training in. So I think the podcast was a little bit, not secondary, but just we've got one with all the crew on. So we've always got stuff to talk about. But yeah, I feel good. Like I said earlier, before we started recording, I'm in maintenance mode. So that means just chugging along, getting my runs in, throwing myself into the gym, making sure you and the other runners are ready, talking about what we can control, what we can't control. There's heat. Fine. We deal with it. There's certain things. There might be a road closed. We don't know. Let's figure it out when we're there.
Yeah.
But I think there's a crewing aspect to this, where people need to look after one another, and we're going to look after one another anyway, just a few bits and pieces, because it's still an ultra marathon, but I'm dead excited to see you do this. So for me, this is the most important part. And later in today's show, we'll talk about who's on board, who's giving us bits, who are the sponsors, the work that has gone in behind the scenes. But tell the folks what you've been up to. I know ABC Radio was all over you and things like that. Tell us.
Yeah, look, there's definitely been a lot of opportunities to just spread the word. I was at a local gym that I get to frequent and sharing with them. I was at a school today, speaking at a school. I was at another high school last week, sharing about not only, the Iraq100 run, but about the work of You Belong, which is, what this is all about. Creating an environment here in Australia that just welcomes and empowers those that are newly arrived, refugees that have fled, as we call them, waymakers that have just made their journey here. So lots of activity, as well as all the running and prep and then the planning over there. So I do feel that, we're in a really good place. And I'm just encouraged to know that outlets like SBS and ABC, I think at a moment in time like this in Australia, where once again, immigration and once again, a lot of, I would say, not very positive attitudes towards those that are migrants and those that have come from overseas to call Australia home. There's some stuff that it's resurfacing. So it's kind of, I think, resonated with a lot of people as to why a run like this and why the work that we do to create positive environments where everyone feels that they can contribute and belong, and it contributes to really a safe and flourishing communities that I get to witness firsthand. I get to see it on the ground, and a lot of people, in their homes, maybe in their communities, might not get to see what I get to see. So, and that's kind of a bit of part about what this Iraq100 run is like. I've lived in Iraq, I've lived in countries and done work all around the world. And my experience on the ground, and I know you can attest to this, Mario, is these places are just full of people that are just like you and me. They want to send their kids to school. They want the best for their families. And in many ways, their culture, albeit very different, actually is they can be the most hospitable, welcoming, kind people to you. And trying to give people a bit of an inside scoop on like, hey, let's take a second look at maybe some of the things we hear and let's see a place for what it really is. So hopefully we'll get to take people on this incredible journey with us. So yeah.
I don't think we need to hope. The way you're organized with our man Troy and the storytellers and the filmmakers.
Yeah.
You know, we're people are actually going to be able to to log on live. It's not going to be live all the time, but there's going to be certain moments every day where people can see what we're doing. That's not just the running part, you know, the preparation part, maybe before we go for the run, what goes into it, what happens straight after, the schools we may visit, the families we will visit, and the schools. And we've got a meeting, hopefully that comes off, with the Ministry of Sport of the Kurdish region of Iraq, who've endorsed this, so they're behind it. So yeah, there's a lot happening. Is there anything I've missed, Tim? I know you're on the ground a bit more than me in terms of, you know, what's happening on the social front, social media front.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think without jumping ahead to I guess thank sponsors, you know, there's also that element to it, you know, where people that, you know, really care about what we're doing, the mission we're on, and they've rallied their support and you know, their business, and is like we've said, you know, we've always looked to people that have really values aligned with what we're doing. And you know, obviously people that are listening, you probably may have come across us through maybe a running contact or some kind of the sport world. And so there's some really cool partners on in particular in that space as well. So I think we've just been, I know, pleasantly surprised. And it's not just happened. It takes reaching out and following up with people. But yeah, just super excited to share about that. So whether we do that now, Mario, or whether you talk a bit about the journey, I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, let's just go back to the journey a little bit, because I know people are definitely interested. Let's just recap what happened. Why are we doing this? Because some people are, you know, they might come on now new and they think, well, what's this 1% the performance? What are these guys actually doing?
Yeah.
And so where it actually comes from my point of view, we met last year. We spoke about running. We did one project already for Move to Belong together last year when you decided to run 7 days in a row. Tim Buxton, for everyone, reckons he's not a runner. He's a born runner, but he wasn't a runner's runner where his life is about running like mine. It is becoming a little bit like that. Watch this space. Let's see what happens after this Iraq100. And also the other runners that are on board. You know, nothing, nothing is the future is a foreign land, like they say. And I think it's a good opportunity to see where we're at. Yeah. But I think that's pretty much the journey. We then spoke about Waymakers, and I got more and more interested and said, oh, okay. So that's what happened. So you went to Iraq the day you landed in Erbil. We all know what happened in Mosul. You know, some group took over. And then you started your journey there. But these people had to flee, and many of them took on a journey of 152 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken, to the border of Iran, which is a city or a town called Soran. And then we talked and said, hey, how about we do something a little bit more, you know, towards an ultra, because 100 miles is kind of a number that people can resonate with. There's 50 miles, 50K, 100K, 100 miles. They're kind of your four most common ultra running distances. So 100 miles makes sense. It's an imperial number. Everybody knows how far a mile is. It's 1.609 kilometers. For your next pop quiz, people.
You always add the like 0.09 or that little extra bit. You never.
Do you know?
This out.
This is funny.
Extra.
Yeah. I'm telling you why I do this now, because I've learned my lesson, right? I ran a few months ago, I ran 16 point something Ks, right? And I put on Strava Thursday 10 mile or something. A fellow runner, I don't know the guy on Strava in Boulder, Colorado. So he gets his Strava in miles. So it must have said 9.99. So he put in the comment and says, Boyo, you're 0.01 out. And I'm like, you funny bug. So
people take Strava pretty serious, don't they?
Yeah, he was funny. He's from Boulder, so everything's about running and cycling and mountain biking there. So that's quite funny. Yeah, look, I started running in miles. So miles for me is very special. I ran 50 miles on my 50th birthday a few years ago. So miles for me is actually a special distance. The mile on the track, the 4-minute mile when it was broken many years ago, the first time the floodgates opened and so on. So the mile has a bigger meaning in a way than the kilometer, in a way, really, in running, to me as well. For me especially personally, because I started running seriously in England, and everything I had was in miles, sometimes. But when I was working there, the night before, I would do a loop with my car to see where I can go and how far it is. And then the next morning, I didn't have a watch or anything. I just ran that loop. And then I roughly knew it was like whatever it was, 5-6 miles. That's how I did my running journey. So yeah. Anyway, there's other little stories there as well. So yeah, so this is how this started. Then we started to set it up. Do we want to go in one hit? But then we said, hey, to make it special, let's do it in 4 days. But we need to knock over a marathon every day. So that gives us the time in the afternoon to visit families and refugee camps, if this is going to be organized in schools, and people can come and run with us. And it also gives us more time to organize, I think, the whole filming and storytelling. It makes crewing a little bit easier. So that's as short as I can put this journey in a nutshell.
Well summarized, Mario. And here we are now after, the great thing is so many people around the world are joining us in this challenge. They're running their own 100. So I know people that are trying to lift 100 kgs, and it's about drawing attention to, an issue that is obviously close to my heart from the work that I've done. But I think when we all look in our own histories as humans, right? We've all moved, we've all come from somewhere and some place, and I think we're seeing on the news a lot of conflict. We see constant wars. We see climate change. They say will cause over 1 billion refugees by 2050. So all of these things are interconnected. These are human issues that affect all of us, and I think it's not the fact that we can prevent there being refugees or prevent people from having to flee their homes for various reasons. But what we can do is create an environment where we look at each other without feeling threatened or without trying to demonize another person just by where they are. But we look at each other with compassion and with eyes as a fellow human being that we share this incredible planet with. So if we can just move the needle a little bit in that direction, and obviously, we're fundraising. We're hoping for people to help us continue the work that You Belong does do. And you can learn all about that. But there's so many programs that really come alongside local communities where refugees live and help support them in so many ways. And so just so grateful to have friends like you and people joining from all places. I received a check for $170 from a group of grade 4 kids at a primary school this morning. And it's those little bits, they were saving, doing recycling and bringing in their bottles, and, that cyclical, effort of constantly wanting to do good and then feed that into making their community a better place to live is so inspiring to me. And so, I'm not lost on how challenging this is going to be, but I'm also, I've got so much to inspire me along the way, and friends like you to take us on the journey. But to all of those that are out there that have donated, that have supported, to all of those out there, the communities that we're a part of, Mario, that have got behind us, the Humble Gym and our workplaces and everyone else that's just cheered us on. We're so thankful. And, next time we speak to you, we will have hopefully some really exciting adventure stories to tell tales to tell, and some more positive news of the impact we're having together. And it's about having some fun as well. And I think we can embark on these adventures and odysseys, make a difference, have fun, push ourselves, hurt a little bit. It's all of it belongs. And we're grateful for all of our listeners, and hopefully we'll be back on the mics again soon enough, either in Iraq or on our way home, or when we get back. Thanks for tuning in to the One Percenters podcast. That's a wrap for another episode, and we're proud to be recording from Australia on Kombumerri and Gadigal country. And we honour the traditions and knowledge of the First Nations people and pay our respects to elders, past and present. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. We want to hear from you, your questions or topics you would like us to cover, and you can easily do that in the Spotify app. And for those of you that are ready to discover your peak performance edge today, just head on over to our website. That is top.coach. That's TOPP.coach. And start unlocking your unlimited potential with us today. We would love to work with you. And that's it for now. Until next time, what are you waiting for?